All right, so here we go. So I'm going to be talking about exercise after cancer, and I've done a few sessions in the past before where I've spoken a little bit more about cautions around exercising after cancer. This one is focused a little bit more on the benefits, and then also if you're already active, just the way you can make sure that you're getting the most out of your exercise and out of your training. So I'm not going to go into the specifics about considerations and things after treatment or after surgery. If you are interested in that, there is a previous presentation that I've done, which is available on YouTube, so you can follow along with that. But hopefully you will find this interesting and also quite motivational or quite inspiring to continue with your exercise or possibly even increase the exercise that you're doing. So I'm going to be talking about the problem with rest. I'm going to go through the challenge trial. So I don't know if most of you are aware of this already, but this was a really big study that came out last year. So I'm going to be going through the findings from this study and just recap on that. I'm going to talk about how exercise can support your recovery in different ways. I'm going to share some new research around exercise and cancer. I'm going to go through aerobic exercise, resistance training, and balance exercise, and just go into the real specifics of what exactly it is that you want to be doing in terms of these different types of exercises. And then I'm going to talk about how to exercise to help manage and reduce fatigue, and then just summarize things at the end with a little bit of time for a Q&A as well. So I'll just let people in as well as they arrive. Just got a few more people joining. Okay. So first of all, the problems with rest. Recovery would be slower. So recovery from treatment, whether that's surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, hormone therapy. If you're resting before that, and if you're resting completely throughout it, it can increase your recovery rate. Cardiovascular fitness declines. So if you are resting completely, again, you will lose heart and lung fitness and health. Inflammation can rise as well. It can cause the loss of muscle mass and physical strength. Bones can weaken as well. So with strength exercises or any exercise at all where you're weight bearing, that can strengthen the bones and increase bone mineral density. If you're not doing exercise at all, your bones will weaken as well. And then treatment side effects can feel more severe too. So rest is not well, it wasn't actually that long ago where rest was encouraged and people were told to rest if you've been diagnosed with cancer or if you're undergoing treatment. But there are a lot of problems with it as well. Sometimes a little bit of rest is important, but rest does always come with some consequences. So the challenge trial, I don't know if all of you are aware of this already, but it was a really, really big study that came out last year with some really interesting, amazing findings in terms of exercise and cancer. So the study was done with 889 people who had high risk stage 2 or stage 3 colon cancer, and they'd been treated with surgery and chemotherapy. Half the group participated in a 3-year structured exercise program where they were guided by physical activity consultants. And the goal was the equivalent to 30 minutes jogging every other day. However, the activity was more than double what the control group achieved. So in comparison, the control group just received health education materials promoting physical activity and healthy eating. So we had the two different groups. The physical activity group, where they were really guided through their exercise. It was the equivalent to 30 minutes of jogging, but also with that physical activity consultant, there was a big emphasis on working out what type of exercise they enjoyed as well. So some people were doing swimming or cycling. It was down to preference too. So it's finding something that they actually stuck to, but they ended up doing a lot more than the control group. And the findings. Disease-free survival was first of all higher in the exercise group. In terms of recurrence, the risk of the cancer coming back or a new cancer starting fell by about 28% in that exercise group. And then at 8 years, exercise participants experienced a 37% reduction in risk of death. So you can see here the table that summarizes these findings. So 5 years, there were 80% disease-free in the structured exercise group in comparison to 74% in the control group. At 8 years, there was 90% overall survival rate in comparison to 83% in the control group. And risk of death over 8 years was 37% lower than in the control group. So really, really significant findings here and quite a large difference between the exercise group and the control group. So what does this mean? So this was actually the first study that really showed that exercise is beyond just a tool for improving quality of life. It can actually even extend life and reduce the risk of cancer occurring. So up until that point, there'd been correlational studies, but this was the first real study to make that comparison between the two groups and show that exercise is beyond just that way of improving quality of life and addressing treatment-related side effects. So it can actually help extend life. Another important thing that was brought up through this study was that support and guidance matter. So both groups had the option to take part in physical activity. There was no one telling the second group that they couldn't. The second group were actually encouraged through health promotional materials, but it was the patients who had access to expert guidance who saw significantly better results. Customization, so it's also important to match your ability and your personal preference to your physical activity. And I'd say this is most likely because this is the activity that you're actually going to stick to. If you're not enjoying it at all, if you hate it, it's going to be much harder to continue with. So personal preference does matter. And also quite a significant finding was actually that the long-term gain in overall survival is ongoing, which gives real hope beyond the immediate post-treatment phase. So the impact of the physical activity wasn't just for people just when they finished treatment, so in that initial year following treatment, it was actually after 8 years as well. So hope beyond the post-treatment phase too. So what does this mean for you? What should you be doing? Now we know the results from this study. So now we know that exercise truly is a medicine, and it's not there to replace other treatments, but it comes without all the horrid side effects that the other treatments come with. So I think if doctors were able to prescribe exercise, and a lot of them are now, but they definitely would be doing that because it is so, so beneficial. So what should you be doing? So in this study, the participants were encouraged or guided to complete 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise, but many participants actually exceeded this. And I'm going to go on to this later on in this talk. I think there's a lot that's spoken about the minimum dose, but I want to talk about optimum dose for those of you who are possibly already exercising or really want to make sure you're doing everything you can to delay the risk of progression or delay the risk of recurrence if you can. So sometimes it's not always manageable, but working up to that point and having that point as a target is brilliant. So 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity. Choose sustainable activities, so things like walking, cycling, swimming, circuit classes, something that you're going to stick to, something that you hopefully enjoy. Stay motivated as well, so create accountability, whether that's through group sessions, one-to-one support, finding friends to exercise with, just anything at all that is going to make you stick with it. So if you've got a family member as well who might want to exercise with you, just having that accountability can make a really, really big difference. So anything that will make you stick with it. And don't forget to get medical clearance as well. And this is especially important post-treatment. But yeah, this is the goal. But if you are undergoing treatment or recently finished treatment, then it is also important to get your medical clearance too, and make sure you're aware of anything that you might need to be cautious of or avoid. But working with a physiotherapist or a cancer rehab instructor, that can also help guide you in terms of what you can be doing and what you might need to be a little bit more cautious with. And what causes these benefits? So while the trial wasn't designed to prove the precise mechanisms, researchers have suggested that there might be several processes involved in this. So first of all, immune system support. Exercise helps activate and circulate immune cells, improving the body's ability to detect and respond to illness or abnormal cells. Inflammation reduction. So chronic inflammation can promote tumor regrowth. Exercise can help lower inflammation. Hormone regulation and metabolic benefits. Exercise helps balance hormones such as insulin and estrogen and improves how the body uses energy, supporting a healthy internal environment. And then increased physical fitness improves resilience, reduces fatigue, and likely improves the capacity to tolerate subsequent treatments or interventions. So if you are someone who is still going through treatment or might have further treatment down the line, just putting yourself in as best possible position to deal with the treatment that might be coming your way can really improve tolerance and resilience to that treatment as well. So that's the best thing you can do for your future self, really. So then a more recent study, so this is something that came out in November, and again, this is looking at the underlying mechanisms as to why exercise can potentially reduce the risk of cancer progressing or cancer recurrence. So this study looked at how exercise serum can promote DNA damage repair and remodel gene expression in colon cancer cells. So it wasn't done on people with cancer. This was done on, they were people who were overweight or obese, and they participated in a hard cycling test, which was cycling up until exhaustion. So it was just approximately 10 minutes, but hard work on a bike, on a static bike. And blood was collected before and immediately after the cycling test. And then after this, they took the liquid part of the blood, which contained exercise-released molecules, and exposed colon cancer cells in the lab to this serum. So this was all done in a lab. And they observed how the cancer cells responded. So the findings from this study, scientists observed widespread genetic changes even after just 10 minutes of exercise. After the exercise, blood contained high levels of signaling proteins involved in immune and repair processes, and cells exposed to post-exercise serum showed quicker DNA repair after radiation damage. So overall, the exercise conditioned serum pushed cancer cells towards a less cancer-promoting state. So while this exercise, it wasn't, it's very different to the previous one. It's a new study that's come out and it's showing the mechanisms again as to why these benefits possibly occur. But also it's quite interesting to see that these benefits can come from just 10 minutes of hard cycling. So even if you're not able to exercise for 150 minutes, we're very aware that anything is always better than nothing. So even just 10 minutes can help improve, give you those benefits, give you that physiological benefit in terms of reducing the risk of cancer as well. So anything is always better than nothing. So don't give up if you're not able to do 150 minutes. If you're not able to reach the targets, then just remember anything is always better than nothing. So now I'm just going to go on to how exercise can support recovery as well. So I'll just talk about a few of the physical benefits and the psychological benefits as well. So exercise can boost balance and coordination, which can be impacted due to various treatments, including chemotherapy through peripheral neuropathy. It can be impacted by hormone therapy due to loss of muscle mass, surgery as well. Many different treatments can impact your balance, so exercise can improve it. It can help enhance mobility and flexibility, which will make it easier to perform daily tasks. It can help improve your bone mineral density. So exercise, particularly strength work or impact exercise, puts stress on the bones. And the bones, like the muscles, respond to stress. That can promote the production of something called osteoblasts, which can therefore improve bone mineral density as a result. It can help improve energy levels and stamina and reduce fatigue. It can improve muscle strength and endurance and improve cardiovascular health, including cholesterol levels and reducing blood pressure. And quite often, various treatments such as chemo can result in other comorbidities such as heart problems or problems with your blood pressure. So exercise again can help address this too. And then there are a lot of mental benefits as well. So exercise can help improve mood by reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety by promoting the release of dopamine and serotonin. It can support thinking, memory, learning, and protect against cognitive decline. It can help improve stress management. It can improve confidence and sense of control. So I'll just say this again. If exercise could be packaged into a pill, it would be the single most widely prescribed and beneficial medicine. So there we go. So many benefits of exercise. But if you're not feeling motivated or inspired already, then hopefully some of that research and some of those figures will help inspire and motivate you more. So it's hugely beneficial. So what this means for you, I'm going to go into now the different types of exercise that you want to be doing based on the recommendations, how you can get to that optimum amount, as well as maybe the more basic amount as well. So if you're not doing any exercise at the moment, then in terms of aerobic activity, so that's anything that gets the heart rate up, your breathing rate up, your blood pumping. So it's things like walking, swimming, cycling, boxing, circuit classes, whatever works for you. You want to gradually increase the amount of cardiovascular exercise that you're doing. You then want to be aiming for at least 3 days a week. So this should be spread out of the week. Try and reduce inactivity as well. So one of the worst things is actually inactivity. So if you are new to exercising, if you're not doing a lot at the moment, then try and gradually introduce that by breaking your exercise down into chunks spread throughout the day or spread throughout the week. You then want to aim for between 150. So we'll say that's the minimum you want to be aiming for. Even if that seems completely out of reach right now, don't worry, but that is what you want to be aiming for. Or up to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. So that's where you feel a significant increase in your breathing rate. You feel like your heart rate has come up, but you might still be able to maintain a bit of a conversation as well. So things like fast walking, or 75 to 150 minutes at a vigorous intensity. So something that makes it much harder to even hold a conversation at. So that might be like a high intensity exercise class, or swimming, running for anyone who is able to run, or hill walking even. So it doesn't need to be as long if you're going for a higher intensity session. So that's what you want to aim for. I'm going to talk about optimum dose later on. So that 300 minutes and the 150 minutes is the optimum dose. But we are aware that benefits can increase the more you do as well. So that's why I've put that optimum dose on there. So aiming to incorporate aerobic activity into your week. And then in addition to this, you want to be doing strength training. So strength training is absolutely essential for all adults. And I will just go through this graph to begin with. So as we get older, your strength and also your bone mineral density can peak in early adulthood. There is then a gradual decline from around the age of 40, and then a very substantial decline from the age of 50. So as we get older, we do naturally lose bone mineral density and muscle mass. That can mean that we're weaker, we're not able to do things we want to in day-to-day life. It will come up with a cost. But fortunately, strength training can help counteract that effect. So important for all adults, whether they're living with and beyond cancer, but even more so if you have been diagnosed with cancer and have gone through various treatments, because this is very likely to weaken your muscles even more. So large muscle mass means more myokines, which leads to greater cancer suppression, stimulating the immune system more efficiently. So again, that real physiological benefits in potentially reducing the risk of cancer recurrence or cancer progression. More muscle mass also means you're more likely to be able to tolerate treatment much better. So whether you're on treatment now or potentially might have treatment further on down the line, that's giving you as best possible position to tolerate your treatment. It can help support posture and mobility. So again, as we get older, posture and mobility can naturally get worse. Again, it can be impacted due to surgery or treatment. So strength work can improve that. It can help manage fatigue by improving the efficiency of muscles. And I'm going to go on to managing fatigue through strength work later on. But the stronger that our muscles are, the less effort everything in day-to-day life should be. So if you are someone who struggles with fatigue, it's strength training or strength exercises that will improve that, reduce levels of fatigue and help improve energy levels. And it can help reduce the risk of a fall. If you've got stronger muscles, your balance is going to be better. You're less likely to fall. And then if you do fall, you're a lot less likely to become injured, whether that's a muscle injury or a break of your bone. If you've got stronger muscles, you're likely to have stronger bones too. And strength work is what addresses bone mineral density too. So less likely to break something or have any serious damage if you do fall. All right, just have a sip. So the American College of Sport Medicine has also recently released some new resistance training guidelines. And this was the most updated guidelines in quite a long time. I think the last ones were 2009. There we go. So these were last updated in 2009. So it was good to have a bit of a refresh. So the findings were synthesized from 137 systematic reviews representing more than 30,000 participants. So this wasn't done on people with cancer. So this isn't specific to people with cancer, but this is how you can get the most out of your resistance training or out of your strength training. And strength training, for anyone who's not sure as well, is anything where you're targeting your muscles, whether that's lifting weights, using resistance bands, just using your body weight. It's different to cardiovascular exercise because it's not targeting specifically the heart and the lungs, it's targeting your muscles. And it's this type of exercise, as I said before, strength exercise puts stress on the bones, it puts stress on the muscles, which is how muscles and bones respond. So it's this type of exercise that will benefit your muscles and your bone mineral density as well. So there was a clear message from these findings that consistency beats complexity. And the most meaningful gains come from a simple shift for shifting from no resistance exercise. So resistance and strength exercise is exactly the same thing. It's just the technical term. No resistance to any form of resistance. So if you're not currently doing strength training, that is where you're going to get most benefit from just going from none to some. And then this study as well, or these findings, they do go into the details of how you can get more benefit, but consistency beats complexity. It's saying that training all major muscle groups at least twice a week matters far more than chasing the idea of a perfect or complex training plan. So you don't need to stress too much or as much as some people think about getting the training absolutely perfect. Just making sure you're getting it into your week is what is most important. And Professor Stuart Phillips, he said, the best resistance training program is the one you'll actually stick with, whether it's barbells, bands, or body weight. Consistency and effort drives results. So here is a good infographic that they shared as well. So while there are ways that you can you can change your resistance training to make it a little bit more beneficial, depending on your goal. The most important thing is that consistency beats perfection. So doing something is the biggest win. However, if you do have a goal, whether that's strength, gaining strength, improving your muscle size and muscle growth, or power, there are a few different ways that you can slightly change or slightly tweak your exercise or your strength training for most benefit. And I'm going to go into this in the next slide on how, for most people's case, so for most of you, it's most likely going to be improving your strength and improving your muscle growth. So that's hypertrophy rather than power. For power, it might be for maybe athletes who are looking to increase their power for their sport. But I will go into a little bit more detail on the next slide on how you can, if you are interested in making those small tweaks to get the most from your strength training, I'll go into that in the next slide. But make it personal. The best plan is one you'll stick to. So just like our aerobic exercise, choose one that fits into your routine, that you're comfortable with and that you enjoy. And you don't need a gym. So your muscles don't care whether you're exercising in a gym or whether you're exercising at home. Budget friendly and free options can be just as effective. So that can be just using your body weight at home. It can be using resistance bands. And the more advanced techniques are optional, so you don't need extreme methods to get results. Research has found that things like training to momentary muscle failure, using specific types of equipment like machines or free weights, or complex periodization as well, did not consistently change results for the average healthy adult. So, there are a few ways you can make tweaks, but the most important thing is you're just targeting your muscles in any way that works for you. So, how to strength train? This is based on research around strength training after cancer as well. So, you want to be aiming for 2 to 3 days a week on non-consecutive days. So, it's important that again the minimum dose is 2 days. If you can do 3 days, even better. But it is important that you're not working the same muscle group back to back. And that is because with strength training, what you're doing is essentially damaging the muscle fibers. And in order for muscles to grow, you then need to leave them to then repair the muscle fibers to then repair, so then they can grow, and you will become stronger. So the rest days are just as important as the strength exercise itself. If you're constantly doing the same thing over and over again, back to back, or you're not even, maybe you're not able to work as hard because you're doing everything back to back, you won't see that same benefit. So you do want to leave rest days, just making sure you're not working the same muscles back to back. If you're only able to do Saturdays and Sundays, do upper body on Saturdays, lower body on Sundays. So you can split it like that, but you just want to make sure you're not doing the same exercise, same exact strength exercise, that is, 2 days in a row. You want to work from between 6 to 30 repetitions for between 1 to 4 sets. If you are wanting to improve your strength, then the more sets throughout the week, the better. And on the previous slide, it was up to 10 sets. So that does sound quite a lot, but that can be spread throughout the week. And what I mean by a set is I'll give you an example with 6. So say we were doing 6 bicep curls, so you do it 6 times, you then either rest or move on to a different exercise and then go for 6 again. So 1 to 4 sets, but you can do more if you're doing it spread throughout the week as well. And 6 to 30, that is around the range that you're going to see those benefits in changes in muscle size as well. If you're working for much more than 30, then it might not be as beneficial. So that's why things like Pilates or yoga, while they're beneficial for mobility and they are beneficial for strength, they might not be as beneficial for change in muscle size or muscle growth, because you're not able to fatigue the muscle in that slightly shorter space of time. Focus on large muscle groups as well, so chest muscles, back muscles, the muscles in your thighs, so the quads, the hamstrings, and the glutes. Large muscle groups they will lead to greater benefit as well. So focusing on those larger groups rather than smaller groups, still beneficial, but in order to see more results and to be more beneficial, focus on the larger ones. Start with low resistance and gradually increase this. So particularly if you're new to exercising, if you go straight in with something too heavy, you're more likely to get injured, you're more likely to get put off. It's going to lead to much more soreness the next day, so your recovery would take a little bit longer. So good to work up very, very gradually. To experience changes in muscle strength and muscle growth, you want to take each set close to muscle failure. So this doesn't mean you actually need to hit muscle failure. And by muscle failure, I mean muscle overload, or that point where you feel like you couldn't do any or many more repetitions. So if it was a bicep curl, it would be to the point where you're really having to heave that weight up. So you don't need to hit muscle failure exactly, but you want to aim to get close to it with around 2 to 3 repetitions in reserve. And then lastly, focusing on accentuated eccentric loading, which is beneficial for improving strength and improving muscle size. And by this is a little bit more complex. By trying and explain this in our classes. So it's always fast on the muscle contracting phase. So in the example of a bicep, it would be fast lifting and then slow as you lower on the lengthening phase. Another way you can do that, if you've got a fancy gym setting, the way you do it is you'd actually lift more on the up phase. So let's say you had 5 kilos, you'd be lifting 5 on the up phase, and then you'd be lowering with less, so 4 kilos on the way down, because that is what is found to be most beneficial in improving strength and hypertrophy, so muscle size. Um, so yeah, a few more specifics. I try and incorporate all of the this kind of thing into our strength classes. So if you are a member and you do strength sessions with us, then you can relax and just follow along really. But if you are interested in those small tweaks, or if you work with people as well who doing strength sessions, this is something that you can try and implement into their training. And don't be afraid to lift heavy as well. So people are often very scared of lifting heavy because they think it's going to make them bulky. It's not strength exercises that itself that makes people bulky. It's what they're eating. So those bodybuilders and weightlifters, then they're not looking like that just by lifting weights. They're looking like that because they're eating in a surplus. So they're eating more more than the energy that they expend. So that's not what makes you bulky. So don't be afraid to lift heavy. It's beneficial. Purchase those slightly heavier weights, or if you're at the gym, give it a go with slightly heavier weights. Just as long as you've worked up gradually, then that's fine, and that can be really beneficial. And what counts as strength training as well. So, like those findings from the American College of Sports Medicine suggested, it can work. Any type of strength exercise is beneficial. So, it can be at the gym using a machine like a leg extension. It can be at home doing a seated leg extension, using a resistance band to do it, or using just dumbbells, weights at home. So anything at all that you're targeting the muscles, and remember that biggest benefit comes from doing nothing to something. So you can tweak it very slightly if you want to see the most benefit, but most important thing is that you're doing some form of strength exercises twice a week, ideally. If you want to do more, maybe 3 times a week. So strength training, I just want to go through a common misconception and how to get the most from your strength training. So this is just a common mistake I will sometimes see in classes. So just a question for all of you. You can use the chat box, or you can hold up numbers. Which exercise do you think is more beneficial? So we've got number 1, where the lady is holding onto a chair while she's doing a reverse lunge, or number 2, where a lady is doing a reverse lunge without holding on, challenging her balance here. So if you just give me numbers, if you think number 1 is more beneficial, say number 1 for improving strength, this is, or number 2, which one is more beneficial? Okay, 1, 2, 2. All right. So I think a lot of people do think 2, and I will often see, so if we're doing an exercise, and I say hold on while you're doing it, I'll often see people not holding on, and wobbling. So number 1, if you are targeting your strength, never be afraid to hold on, use something for a little bit of support. It's helping you make the most of the exercise, so it is not cheating. So I always try and emphasize, train your balance and your strength separately. And this is why. So your brain's main job is to keep you safe. If something feels unsafe, uncomfortable, or overwhelming, your body will hold you back. So when your body feels stressed, whether that's losing balance, feeling too hot, or in pain, exercises will feel harder and more tiring, even if your muscles could do more. So this is why some workouts can feel exhausting without actually being that beneficial or making you stronger. So if you're wobbling while you're doing that reverse lunge, you're challenging your balance, which is great, but you're not necessarily targeting the muscles like you could be doing. So here are some factors that may limit your progress. So again, if you're worried about falling over, your body will focus on staying upright instead of building strength. Hold onto a wall or a chair, because that can make you move better and feel stronger. So you might find if you're not holding on, you're only able to go for a step behind you with that reverse lunge, because otherwise you're wobbling, or you're not able to go for that big range of movement. Whereas if you were holding on, you'd be able to step back further, you'd be able to slow the movement down. So you're really focusing on targeting the muscle. And same with other exercises as well, even if it's like a shoulder press. So if your balance isn't very good, or if you're struggling with energy levels and fatigue, sit down to do it, because then you can focus on your strength rather than having to worry about other factors. Also, heat makes exercise harder as well. So, exercising in warm conditions can increase fatigue, and cooler spaces usually feel easier and more manageable. So, while you might feel like you're working harder or you might feel more tired after exercising in heat, it's actually not going to be beneficial if you're targeting your muscles and your strength because you are going to fatigue much quicker without getting that same benefit. So, stay cool. Also, simple movements work best. Complicated exercises take more to think about and control. So simple, familiar movements let you focus on the muscles that you're trying to strengthen. So with the example of a burpee, which people will think is a good strength exercise because you feel like you're working hard, you feel very tired afterwards. It is a complex movement. You're working there's lots of things going on. So it's actually probably going to be more beneficial cardiovascularly. So it's getting your heart rate up, your blood pumping, than necessarily your muscles and therefore your bones. So keep things simple, hold on while you're doing things. And also pain stops progress as well. So if something hurts, your body will automatically limit how hard you can work. Exercise should feel challenging, but not painful. So if you are experiencing any pain, while there are some exercises or some strength exercises that are more beneficial than others, there's no one exercise that trumps them all. So if something doesn't feel right for you, then adjust it, or maybe even ask whoever if you've got an instructor, or if you are an instructor, help that person to adjust that exercise so that they can find a movement that works better for them. And then a few tips to get the most from your strength training. So use support when you need it. Never be afraid when you're targeting your strength to use things like walls or chairs, rails, or machines as well. So if you are someone who goes to the gym, while again, both ways are good, so doing free weights or machinery. If you're quite new to exercising and you're limited by your balance or doing the movement correctly, then just use a machine, which will help you build up your strength a little bit better than having to worry about other factors. Skip painful exercises, so change or avoid movements that cause pain. Exercise in a comfortable temperature. Staying cool can help you exercise for longer and feel better. Focus on one goal at a time. So balance and coordination are important, but strength is important too, and training them separately will help you get better results from each. So I'm going to go on to balance work next, because we all want to improve our balance as well. Balance is important, but just good to make sure you know the difference between strength work and balance, and you're training them separately. All right, so balance. How can you improve your balance? So balance, again, is something that can get worse as we get older due to various different factors, including loss of muscle, loss of core strength, and then treatments as well. If you've had chemotherapy, then if you've got peripheral neuropathy as a result of that, that can impact your balance as well. So how can you improve it? Balance is a complex skill, so therefore does require a multifaceted approach. So in order to improve your balance, you don't want to be just doing the same balance exercise over and over again. It is important to make sure you're taking part in a combination of strength work. So we should all be doing strength work anyway, but also flexibility work, because that plays a part. So making sure everything is quite flexible, quite mobile, particularly things like the feet and the ankles. And then also balancing and coordination exercises too. And then you should be varying your balance training as well. So you don't necessarily just want to be doing the exact same balance exercise or exact same flexibility strength exercise over and over again. And this is because the body adapts over time. So changing your exercises keeps the brain and muscles engaged and continuously improving. Also, a variety of movements help stimulate the brain and create new neural pathways for better movement control. And varying the exercises can help mimic everyday movements, making the exercises more functional. So while it's tempting to stick with the same balance exercise because that's the one you know or that's the one you're comfortable with, it is important to vary it in different ways, whether that's a different exercise itself or changing the ground that you're standing on to do it. So rather than just always doing it on a completely flat surface, you can change it so you're standing on an uneven surface like the carpet or a mat or even a cushion to make it harder. And again, that can help stimulate a more or mimic a more real life situation as well. And then rather than always doing your balance exercises, focusing on something still just because it makes you feel safe and it makes you feel like you're doing it better, try and turn your head, because it's quite often that when your balance is challenged in day-to-day life, you're not always just looking in front of you, your head is moving. So really good to practice those exercises as well with some head movement too. So good to mix things up, vary things. And in order to improve your balance, you do want to be challenging it as well. So if it feels too easy and you're not wobbling at all, so for example, if you're doing a single leg stand and you're able to do it perfectly fine, then you're not going to be improving it unless you've got a little bit of wobbling going on as well. So if it feels too easy, make it harder by turning your head or adding in some movement by your side or with the other leg. Okay, so last few now. So I'm going to go on to cancer-related fatigue and the role of exercise. So what is cancer-related fatigue? Fatigue is a common and severe side effect of cancer and its treatment, and it can feel like extreme, persistent exhaustion, and it's not relieved by just rest. So why is it? What causes this cancer-related fatigue? It's not just normal tiredness like some people can experience day to day. It can be caused by treatment effects like chemotherapy and radiotherapy. It can be caused by inflammation and immune changes. It can be caused by reduced physical fitness and muscle loss as well. And then various psychological factors can make it worse, such as stress, anxiety, and depression. So that's why it can feel a lot more severe than just normal tiredness. There are a lot of physiological causes to this too. So how can exercise help? So while it might seem counterintuitive, if you're feeling tired and you're thinking actually the best thing to do for myself would be to sleep or to rest, actually exercise can improve your fitness and muscle strength. So therefore making everything feel a little bit easier in day-to-day life. So if your heart works better, if your lungs are more efficient and your muscles are stronger, everything is going to feel a little bit easier, whether that's just walking about in your home, going to the shops, everything's going to feel that little bit easier than it would as if your muscles were weak and everything was tired and unfit. It can help reduce inflammation as well. It can help regulate hormones and energy systems, and it can help support sleep and mental health as well. So that is why exercise can help, even though it might seem counterintuitive initially. So if you are struggling with fatigue, then here are a few tips. So people often think that long, low intensity as exercise is best for fatigue. So if you're struggling with fatigue, the first thing you do is maybe just starting off with some gentle walking because that feels most manageable. Because there are a lot of physiological causes to fatigue rather than just tiredness or lack of sleep, that's actually not going to do enough to improve your energy levels and to address that cancer-related fatigue. So rather than doing just gentle, long, low intensity exercise, what you want to be doing is, oh, sorry, here we go, limitations. So it doesn't maintain or build muscle mass. So low intensity exercise, it's not enough to build or maintain your muscle mass. It doesn't stimulate the correct muscle growth and repair that is needed to address that fatigue and improve your energy. There are limited metabolic and mitochondrial improvements as well from just low intensity exercise. There's low anti-inflammatory signaling as well. And also it may increase your energy use without improving the efficiency. So as I've said a lot throughout this talk, while there's no best exercise, there are some exercises that are going to be better than others just because they're more efficient. They will help lead to greater improvements without expending as much energy. So low intensity exercise can increase your energy expenditure without necessarily improving your fitness or improving your muscle mass. So what works better? First of all, resistance training. I've spoken about why this is so important, so beneficial. And this is because it can help build and preserve muscle mass. It can help improve strength, your metabolism and energy efficiency. It can reduce the effort needed for day-to-day activities. So any kind of strength exercise or any kind of lifting of weights or using your body weight. And then interval-based aerobic exercise. So this is interval-based. It's anything that gets the heart rate up. So you're going to feel that increase in the heart rate, your breathing rate, followed by a recovery period as well. And this was the type of exercise that I spoke about at the start that you don't need to do as much. So recommendations are if you're doing higher intensity interval exercise, you don't need to be doing as much because the benefits can come from doing less. So this can improve cardiovascular fitness and mitochondrial function. It's more effective in less time, so therefore it will avoid excessive energy drain from longer sessions. So any kind of cardiovascular exercises, in any form as well. So whether that's walking, so an example, if it was walking, you'd maybe do hill walking. So then you'd get your heart rate up, followed by a recovery period as well, bringing the heart rate down to experience those benefits. And then a few tips for managing fatigue. So be flexible, adjust the exercise based on how you feel that day. Opt for seated strength exercises to help you conserve your energy, but actually get the most from the exercise itself. Work with your energy levels rather than against them. So try and exercise when you feel most energized. If you do struggle a lot with your energy, then you might want to possibly write an energy diary or a fatigue diary where you're making a note of when you feel best throughout the day, just so you have a bit more of an idea of when your energy levels are highest, whether that's the morning, midday, evening, and exercise at that time. Break it up, use short sessions instead of a long one spread throughout the day. So this can be just as beneficial as doing longer sessions, so don't be afraid to break your exercise up. Keep some intensity, but adjust the volume, so you can maybe reduce the session length and the number of sets. Vary your exercise, including strength and interval work, to help avoid overload while still making progress. So important to make sure you're not doing the exact same thing every time. Variety is important. And stay consistent. So when experiencing severe fatigue, focus on maintaining function, not improving fitness. So opt for shorter sessions, fewer sets, more rest, but try your best to avoid stopping completely. So not only for the physiological benefits, it's bad to stop completely, but also for the habit. So often the hardest thing with exercise is habit and getting it into your routine. If you're struggling with fatigue, or if you're even, if you've had an injury or undergoing treatment, maintaining that habit can be so helpful, because then when you are feeling better, it gets much, much easier to then get back to where you are. So if whatever your reason is that you feel like you might need to stop the exercise that you're doing, if you're able to just adjust it so you're still doing something, even if you're not able to do anything, do 5 minutes of facial movements, anything at all to maintain that routine, keep that habit, and you will feel good for it as well. So dose response relationship. So lastly, higher volumes of exercise generally do lead to greater reductions in cancer incidence and mortality. So there have been findings that do suggest that the dose response relationship means that more exercise does lead to greater benefits as well. So while there is a minimum dose that we want to be working towards, actually the more the better, as long as you progress gradually and are feeling all right doing it as well. So the minimum effective dose, so any exercise is better than none. And remember that study that I went through at the start, it showed even just 10 minutes of high intensity exercise does result in some physiological benefits. So any is always better than none, but try and aim for a minimum of 90 to 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity exercise, focusing on maintaining function and building consistency and habit. However, if you're someone who wants to work to an optimal dose, maybe you're feeling quite good, you're just in a phase of your life where you feel like you're able to push it a little bit more, then you want to be aiming for between 150 to 300 minutes a week of moderate intensity exercise. And findings have suggested that benefit starts to then plateau at around 300 minutes per week. So up until that point, you'll still continue to see or to continue to experience more benefit, but around 300 minutes of aerobic activity a week is where the benefits start to plateau. And any more than that might actually then start to become counterintuitive. And also, if you're doing too much and you're feeling fatigued, completely wiped out, again, that is too much as well. So that the optimal dose is if you can tolerate it, if you're feeling good by building up to that. If you are not feeling good, then just take it back a notch. And if you're doing high intensity exercise, it can be a little bit less, so 75 to 150 minutes a week of vigorous exercise and vigorous aerobic exercise. You want to include 2 to 3. Oh, all right, can you hear me again? Okay. Where I don't know where I got up to. I don't know when that ended. Um, Hang on one moment. Sound and video went. Was it just for a second? Have you heard me talk about the
It was
um
just towards the end of that last slide.
okay.
Uh, so it was when you were going about that little summary at the bottom.
Okay, thank you. All right, I will go back to that then. Hang on. Let me go back to the screen share. Okay. Just give me a thumbs up. Can you see this again, the screen? Okay. Oh, uh, can you see this screen now? Can you see the changes? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. All right. Let me go back then. Sorry. So I'll just go back to that again. So on optimal dose, so benefits start to plateau around 300 minutes. So if 300 minutes of aerobic activity per week. So you don't need to be doing any more than that. Um, you want to be doing, if you're doing higher intensity exercise, you don't need to be doing as much as well. If you can tolerate it, higher intensity or interval work can be really beneficial. But the greater the volume and getting a little bit of higher intensity exercise can result in greater biological and clinical benefit as well. So there's the minimum dose and the optimal dose. Do what you can, what works for you, or what you're actually going to stick to and enjoy, because you don't want to end up doing loads and loads and that result in the boom bust cycle where you're then doing nothing at all. So it's working out what works for you, first of all. But if you are currently enjoying what you're doing and you want to try and push it to that next level, this is what you're possibly aiming for. So to summarize, so exercise is one of the most powerful things you can do for your recovery. You don't need to wait to feel better to start. Even small amounts of movement can help. Starting gently is enough. So you don't need to wait till everything's perfect. You're probably not going to get there if that's what you're doing, because often it's exercise that you need in order to start to feel better. So don't wait till you're feeling good. Although all exercise is good, some exercise is better. To achieve optimal benefits, try and choose the correct dose, intensity, and ensure progression. So you can talk to a professional to achieve this, and there are more and more people out there now working with exercise and cancer. So wherever you're based, I'll go on to this in the next slide. Try and seek support if you can. I also run an online program for anyone who's not aware of this. So if you are interested in that, then please do get in touch. Fatigue doesn't mean you should stop moving. The right type and amount of exercise can help improve your energy levels over time. Consistency matters more than doing a lot. So regular manageable exercise is more effective than occasional intense sessions. Strength training is absolutely essential in helping to rebuild muscle, improve daily function, and support long-term recovery. And lastly, you don't have to do it alone. Getting guidance from a qualified professional can help you feel more confident and safe. So where can you find exercise support? So I don't know if you've heard of the Cancer Care Map, but it's a great online resource for you to access various resources for people with cancer. So it's got support groups, but it's also got exercise classes as well on there. So if you are looking for something in person, then visit the Cancer Care Map. You can put in your location and it can tell you where the closest things to you are. Maggie's exercise classes. So quite a lot of Maggie's centres do run exercise classes for people with cancer. I run an online session for the Oxford group. That's the Oxford Centre. Yeah, that's an online one, but I know there are in-person ones depending on where you're located. On the Macmillan website as well, that shares various resources, so online resources for exercising. but also it's got an area, what's in your area thing as well. So you can have a look on there. And then 5K Your Way, that is a cancer and exercise support group. So I'm an ambassador for our local one, which is Rickmansworth in Hertfordshire. We meet on the last Saturday of every month to take part in a local park run. So that's our Rickmansworth one, but they are all over the country. It's a great concept. It's to encourage people to seek support from others who've possibly had cancer or family members who've been affected by cancer. And there are normally professionals in that, well, there are always professionals in that group as well. So oncologists or nurses. So you can find out more about that on the 5K Your Way website, which I've linked there. And if anything, that group is just going to encourage and inspire you to move more and get active. You don't have to do a whole 5K your way. You can just go to cheer people along. You can go there for a bit of support. You can go there to volunteer as well. And then, so I run both in-person and online exercise classes for people living with and beyond cancer. And included in our online program is guided exercise classes, which includes both variety and progression. So I've been very aware that the guidelines and the goals for people with cancer as well as other long-term health conditions it can be quite daunting, be quite intimidating if you don't really know what you're doing. So I wanted to create a place where you just didn't need to think about it at all. You were just being guided along. And as long as you are following the classes or as many classes in the program as you can be confident that you are hitting the recommendations for people living with cancer. So it's got exercises to improve your strength, your muscle mass, as well as exercise classes to improve your cardiovascular fitness with a high intensity exercise session in there as well. We've got balance exercises and exercises to address specific symptoms too. So we've got weekly classes. There are 6 I run a week. We've got various exercises to challenge and improve your balance, a range of movement and flexibility, as well as just strength and fitness. We've got shorter length classes, which can be helpful in managing fatigue, or if you're just someone who's short on time as well, doing a shorter length class can help you maintain that habit. So we've got a very large library of sessions ranging from 5 to 20 minutes for this. And then we've got videos to address specific symptoms in here as well, including balance, range of motion post-surgery, and joint instability. So if you've got a particular area of weakness, such as hip instability or knee instability, we've got classes and videos specifically to address this as well. And all of these classes are delivered live via Zoom, but they are also all recorded. So if you do work or if you've got various other things going on, if you're going through treatment, then you can do these in your own time as well. And the way I deliver them is that they are designed that you can follow along with at your own pace. You can make things easier by going slower or just adjusting movements slightly. And I always include ways of making it harder, particularly with our strength work. So if you do want to push it that little bit more, you always have the option to as well, whether that's through adding in pulses, slowing down movements. Yeah, so you can, if you are interested in that and you're not already a member, you can sign up to a 7-day free trial to give the program a go. And then free resources. So I have some videos as well available on YouTube. So if you don't want to pay, if you're not able to pay, then I do have free videos that you can follow along with. I also have an Instagram account where I try and put on some helpful tips and information just to help make sure that you're staying up to date with things, or exercises to address different things like balance and lower body, upper body strength. And then a lot of what I've gone through in today's session is available for you to read in our cancer exercise guidebook, which you can download on the website. So if you are interested, please do get in touch with me. If you've got any questions, I'm always happy to help. But I will finish that there and just let me know